Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We're getting ready for our live today with our coach, Alexandra. Good morning. Welcome. Our day. Today we have a very interesting topic, and we're going to be talking about it with our coach, Alexandra. So we'll just wait a few minutes for her to join. And there she is. Hi, hola Alex, ¿cómo estás?
How are you?
Yay, great. And you?
Hola, how are you?
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
great.
please.
Thank you
Of
for
course,
the
we're looking
patience with
forward to
the
having
technical.
this live. This is such a great topic. So I'm really excited to be able to talk
Yeah,
about
me
it with
too.
our followers. Just give me a minute. I think, yeah. So, all right. So today is a very special day. Let me introduce you our coach, Alexandra. She's one of our lead coaches here in our headquarters in Chicago, Illinois. She's very passionate about developing leaders. Are you there, Alex? I see you. I see you a little for a
Yeah, I'm
second.
here.
So you find joy coaching young professionals, developing leaders. You work with Fortune 500 companies in the past, and now you're here with us, Marlene Gonzalez Coaching. You also are the founder of Herrera Coaching Company as well, right? And you've had a long
Yes,
career as a coach for leaders in Latin America, correct? Awesome.
absolutely, absolutely. Very proud of that. Great opportunities to coach alongside Marlene as well. And yeah, excited to be here and being
Awesome,
part
awesome.
of
Thank you
this
so much,
amazing team.
Alexandra. So today we're going to talk about that holistic approach to the new year. We're going to talk about trying to
Mhm.
give them the best advice we can to the leaders out there, all the professionals, and how to approach this new year and 360,
Mhm.
let's call it, right? So I wanted to share
Mhm.
some statistics with you from our last live. We were talking with Marlene Gonzalez about the New Year's resolution. So funny that most of us, and I include myself, we start a year strong with a lot of goals that we set ourselves to do. But statistics show that towards the end of the year, only 9% achieve those goals. So only 9% of us are consistent enough to finish the year strong. But throughout the process, something happens, call it dismotivation or deviation, or we just get busy on our day to day, or we forget that, you know, it doesn't allow us to get there. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. And also, of course, that's why we are bringing up one of these topics, because this is a perfect time, January, to talk about it. So please, Alexandra.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a great topic. And at the beginning of the year, yeah, there is a lot of excitement about new goals and about a new you, etc. And sometimes we get lost in in planning for those goals because we just want to go so broad and get let's say a rebranding physically, mentally, and professionally and personally. And there are so many things that sometimes we get just buried with so many goals and not necessarily the right focus to really go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
implement and execute and be consistent. So the way I like to think about it, as you said, 360 holistically, is like not starting from scratch. It's an opportunity for us to gain the insight and learnings, and even from our mistakes, quotation,
Okay.
because mistakes are opportunities to learn. So then what did we learn last year? What went well? What could have gone differently? What is that reflection that we need to get inside of us to really bring that into the new year? Because if we keep breaking our lives year by year, it's like we don't get that holistic approach and we don't get that growth that we could achieve if we integrate the learning, the good, the bad, the ugly, in whatever it is that we want to accomplish in the new year. So what I think it's very important is the intentionality. Just taking the time to really breathe and identify what is that is going to generate the biggest change, like the biggest bang for your buck, as they would say. So what is that area that is going to be more impactful in the rest of the areas of my life that is going to get like create a ripple effect? And just by focusing and being more intentional on that particular area, we can see that cascade or cascading in different areas of our lives. So I would say intentionality and focus, establishing what we call SMART goals, or being very specific. What is that I want to accomplish? People say, well, I want to be healthy. Okay, and what does that mean? Is it that exercising more and eating healthy only? Or is it being mindful, taking time to avoid being burned out, taking time to set boundaries and to put yourself first? So there are so many components on that. So being mindful and thoughtful when you establish a goal, having that focus, I think is
I think
going to
that's
be a
really
great
interesting
way
because
to
it is
get.
true that every year, at the beginning of the year, we tend to want to scratch everything that we've done in the past and start from zero. It's like you feel like sometimes that feeling of starting again or starting from scratch, sometimes that generates anxiety for some professional because it's like, okay, I'm going to start from scratch this year. I don't want to like do any of the mistakes that I made this year without considering that, you know, yes, those mistakes are part of what you are or who you were, and you have overcome them one way or another, and they're part of your learning process, right? And they build you and who you are today. So it's a really great advice not to start from scratch, but take what you have learned from the past and build from there. So that is, I think that's
Absolutely,
great.
absolutely.
Focus. It's one of the other tips that you mentioned. I think that's definitely that's something that some of us really need to work hard on. and just that lack of motivation. What do you think happens throughout the year? I mean, could it be like the day to day, or what do you think?
Well, I think it has to do with sometimes we are very ambitious when it comes to
Okay.
the goals that we want to accomplish. So then instead of setting something that we can kind of go step by step and building our wins, then we say, okay, I want to be healthy. I'm going to run a marathon. And you haven't really walked 30 minutes a day for the last couple of years. So are we being realistic in terms of what
Okay.
the goals that we're setting for ourselves? Because otherwise it's very frustrating that you say, okay, I sign up to run a marathon in September and I just feel I cannot run a 5K, then I will quit. I won't do anything. So it's a lot of
Okay.
the all or nothing approach. Like instead of saying, okay, I will start walking 30 minutes a day or 15 or anything that is realistic for you, and then getting consistent at that, then it's like from 0 to 100. And when you don't get to that to the 100 quickly enough, then it's frustrating, demotivating, and you say, okay, you know what, I won't do anything. One analogy that I can say about that lack of motivation sometimes is like you go to a supermarket
Uh-huh.
and buy a dozen of eggs, and two of them break. What are you going to do? Are you going to break the other 10? And sometimes that's what
And then you
happens.
quit.
Okay, I fail in this, then I won't do anything, and it's like equivalent to breaking all the eggs because you broke two.
Very good analogy.
So yeah,
Pretty
just
good.
having that
That's
in
pretty cool.
mind. Yeah.
Okay, Alex. So now I want to also be able to share with our viewers one of the tools that we use in our coaching style. It's the insights, of course, tools. So I wanted to ask you if you can just explain to us a little bit about the different leadership personalities, the behaviors, and how would that be able to gel into that New Year's planification?
Absolutely. Well, the insight discovery model is a really memorable way to remind us of our preferences. And some people think about, oh, that is another personality test. It's not. It's about preferences. So it's about the way you think and act, the way that you recharge yourself. Are you more extroverted in the way, not necessarily being more social, but it's that you
Mm-hmm.
need people to get recharged, or being more an introvert? That doesn't mean to be shy, but it
By
means that
yourself.
when you're exhausted, you just want to be by yourself. So the combination of the mindset in terms of decision making with your head, with facts, or your decision making with your intuition, and the combination of being an extrovert or an introvert, as I explained it before, that give us like four basic personality preferences. And when you understand that about yourself and you develop that self-awareness, you are in a better position to see what is going to work for you. So for example, a person that lives with fiery red energy, that is a person that likes to make decisions with their heads, and they have a tendency to the extroversion. They're very determined, purpose driven, and getting things done fast. Well, probably they will benefit from establishing those specific SMART objectives or goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bounded, and just
Okay.
write it down,
So
because
that's
they
the
will get
red
it done.
personality.
Okay. So
The preference.
yeah, the
Fire red. Okay.
preference with the fiery red. Exactly. So people that whose main preference is sunshine yellow, these are the individuals that are more intuitive. They make decisions that probably sometimes are a little bit more impulsive. I can relate to that. And yeah, also they get recharged with people, and that tendency to be an extroverted from that sense. Well, they need to see the possibilities. So what is it going to happen with this goal? What is that going to bring me to? Because they need to see the bigger picture, kind of the vision ahead. So it's not what's happening in the next 2 days, but it's this is going to impact my overall vision of becoming more successful, of achieving that long-term vision. Again, the fact that they prefer to see possibilities doesn't mean that they need to establish goals that are
Okay.
going to take them from 0 to 100. It just means that they are going to build goals that step by step will get them to that possibility that they can see. And
Okay.
sometimes other people
All right.
cannot
So
see what they see.
that's
Visionary
the
kind
yellow
of thing.
preference. So they need to see the big picture. They need to see that by the end of a year, their goals are going to
Yes,
happen, and how is that going to benefit them so they can be motivated towards it throughout the year. Okay. Great. I mean, so
exactly.
right now you're giving us a vision. Like if you identify with any of these preferences, that means that this is how you need to approach this goal setting for the year.
Exactly. In order for you to work, let's say, with your preferences and your strengths, because guess what? When you work with your strengths and your preferences, first of all, it's more fun, and it's going to be more productive than just going against the
And a lot
screen trying
easier.
to be
I
who you
agree
are
with that
not.
because I know I've done the profile and I have identified my preference is yellow. So I know I'm more of an extrovert, outgoing. And if you give me an Excel sheet of things to check, that's not what I'm after. And that's actually going to create stress on my day-to-day planning. I need to see the big picture, just like you said. I need to see that it's possible. I need to see that it's achievable. And therefore, for me, when it comes to planning, that at least a New Year's resolution, I need to put it that way, and I need to apply that to me so I can be successful. And I think this is really key for our viewers as well to understand that they need that we invite them, of course, to take a profile test with us so they see what their preference is. But it's really clever what you're saying. So far we talked about the fiery red and the sunshine yellow. There are two more, right?
Yep. Yep. I'll get to that in 1 minute, but I want to take the example you gave me, like Excel details. So guess what? For a sunshine yellow in general, it won't be that motivated to count the steps. But for somebody that really likes the data and the information, they would like not only the Fitbit, but the Strava with all kinds of graphs, comparison with other athletes in the world, and all kinds of details. But for the yellow, it's more like, okay, how is that going to help me with my vision? And for the red is, am I going to get it done? Okay. So moving towards the introvert side, again, not shy, but somebody that really recharges by being by themselves. So then there is the green preference, earth green. So that one is very motivated by values, by purpose. It's about collaborating. It's about serving. So in that example, signing up for a marathon to support an organization,
Okay.
a nonprofit, a charity, that's going to be more motivating than just the fact of running for the sake of getting better in their own health. It's more like, how can I contribute to the community, to the humanity, to generate a change? So that understanding that is the way you think and the main value you have, then that helps you guide
Interesting.
your
So,
planning in
so
a more effective way.
if you identify yourself with the green preference, and you have set up your, let's say, year resolution goal to lose weight, perhaps the approach you need to take is by doing those activities, like signing up for a marathon. That's going to be a charity one. That's going to give back to the community, because that's how you eventually get motivated.
Exactly. Because it's the earth green preference is more about the collective than the individual. It's not accomplishing just for accomplishing it in the sake of accomplishing it, but it's like, how am I contributing? How am I making the world a better place? How can I reach out more people and expand my scope to
Very,
help?
very interesting, because this is how you tackle those New Year's resolutions, by understanding yourself, by being aware, self-aware of how it's easier for you to achieve your goals. So I
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's more like goal setting from inside out
great,
instead of
super,
just
super. I think this is very
the opposite.
insightful. I have one of our viewers saying here that I definitely lead with green energy. So she's more of the contributor to the community. That's nice, Isa. Now you're getting the tips here, Isa, all for you. All right, awesome.
Exactly. So
Okay.
as we go towards the
One more.
other preference, the cool blue, making decisions with data, with information, and let's say relaxing by chilling. These individuals will be motivated by data, by accomplishments that they can measure and see. As I mentioned, it's not only the steps for the day, but it's the graphs and how is this compared to the community of runners, and how am I getting better quantitatively, not only qualitatively. It's not only about the way I feel, but it's also about the data that I can refer to. So it's very more objective approach to measure success. And if that's the way they get motivated, well, by all means, just set then your goals in terms of increasing your performance by 10% in a month, etc. Realistic. All of those that we have discussed don't, let's say, it's not about abandoning the approach of step by step and just building the success in small wins, but it's about how are you going to make those wins work for you
and now,
your preferences.
Please, let's also share with our viewers that it doesn't mean that, I mean, your preference means that you're going to stick to that color preference or personality. It's basically, we are a mix of all, but our preference is just what it's easier for us. But we should work on the others if and when we need those preferences to show in our professional path, in our career, in our managing the house activities, sort of thing.
Yeah, and relationships as well. So that is a great point, because it's not about stereotyping that you're leading with blue, therefore blah, blah, blah. No, it's about that's your preference, but you have access to all colors. The matter of fact is we all have access to each of them. And the beauty of the Insights Discovery Profile is that it allows you to develop strategies to work with those energies that are not your preferred ones, but that are helpful to your point in your career, in managing your relationships, in your communication. So, for example, a yellow energy loves to talk, to be the life of the party. So guess what? You could benefit of listening more. And then when you're reading the profile, then you're, oh, okay, maybe I should ask more questions. Or depending on your preference, it's like an invitation to reflect on how are you going to develop that, let's say, preference that is not your, let's say, your main one. So you can be more balanced and bring a more rounded approach to each of your relationships, not only at work, not only at home, but all combined. So one example is if I ask you to cross your hands, how would you do it? Just fold your arms. How would you do it? Yeah, which arm is on top? Okay, now do it opposite.
Yeah, it feels weird.
How is it? Oh, it feels weird.
Yeah,
Okay, can you do it?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you can do it, but it takes a little bit more intentionality. So you have to think a little bit, and it feels weird. The more you practice, then you will start feeling like, oh, I can do both. But it's more about that, like your preferred way, if crossing it in the first way you did it. But the secondary, you could do it, but it takes a little bit more of thinking. And that's exactly
I
with the
see it.
point.
And I work, I mean, I know I got my profile actually last year, and I know generally, I mean, it's not like they expire, but you evolve as a human, as a professional, and therefore you sort of have to repeat it every 3 to 4 years, so you understand a little bit more where you're at. But one of the things that I really enjoyed about the profile, the discovery profile, is the blind spots, which is something that it's there, you're just not aware of them. And just by being self-aware and understanding them, it just cleared, like it painted a different picture on how I see things, especially in my work environment and with my colleagues and with my coworkers. So
yeah, that is a great element of the profile, one of my favorites as well. And it's like when you're driving a car, let's say you take your husband's car, and it's not the car that you drive usually. One of the first things that you most likely are going to do is to adjust the mirrors. And you adjust the mirrors to account for those blind spots that you are aware that you most likely are not going to see. So with the blind spots, same thing. So it's like driving a car where you need to make adjustments. So you look at the mirror, identify your blind spots, make adjustments to your behaviors, your decision making, and then voila, everything works out.
Well, Alex, thank you so much. This has been such a great topic. Now, I wanted to ask you, how can we, what product from what we offer do you think will benefit more the viewers that are seeing us that have never heard about Insights Discovery or never heard about our methodology as in Marlene Gonzalez Coaching and also part of Herrera Coaching?
Absolutely. Personal effectiveness profile. The personal effectiveness profile is a great first step to really get into the details that we just spoke here. And one more thing I want to mention is like, we have talked a lot about self-awareness, but with Insight Discovery, we also learn to be more aware of others. And that's a beauty, that we understand how others operate, and then we can relate to them and convey our messages and connect with people at a different level. So it's
awesome.
It's amazing.
Well, thank you so much. We invite everyone to come check our website. It's marlenegonzalez.com. We also have our Latin America division, which is lcgsas.com. If you need any help in any of the Latin American countries, Alexandra is part of our team. So if you desire any type of coaching, please reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to set you up with one of our coaches. And as Alexandra said, our profiles are available for you, and we're here to help develop leaders for tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the invitation. It was great to talk with all of you, and I look forward to your revolution this year of starting looking inside to make the changes outside.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
You as well. Take care.